Smart people don't raise their voice. They raise their standards. Let's get one thing straight. Sigma females are not emotional wrecks trying to prove a point. They are calm, quiet, and razor sharp. And when things turn dirty, they do not panic or play the same games. They simply think 10 times deeper and move 10 times wiser. That is why they win without lifting a finger. People often mistake their silence for weakness. They assume that if she does not fight back, she must be scared. But here's the truth. Sigma females are watching, learning, and preparing. They are not in the moment to react. They are already thinking 10 steps ahead. When others throw shade, she builds. When others compete for attention, she disappears and levels up. And while the world watches the loudest person in the room, she is behind the scenes pulling off moves no one expected. This is not just about intelligence. It is about emotional discipline, strong self-worth, and a mindset that refuses to settle for shallow games. Sigma females do not try to destroy enemies. They let them destroy themselves. So if you are a Sigma female, or becoming one, this is your reminder. Your silence is powerful, your patience is deadly, and your growth is the checkmate they never saw coming. They played dirty. But you played smarter. And that is exactly why they lost before the game even started. Let's get started. Number 1. She let them think they were winning. Most people can't help themselves when they think they're ahead. They show off, talk too much, and get sloppy. That's the moment Sigma females wait for. They don't jump into drama. They don't chase people for answers or try to prove they're right. Instead, they quietly observe, store every detail, and let others get comfortable in their false sense of control. You see, Sigma females play the long game. They do not need to announce their moves. When someone thinks they are winning, it feeds their ego. That ego makes them blind. And that's exactly why Sigma females don't bother stopping them. They let them run wild, thinking they've outsmarted her. But the truth is, she's already 3 steps ahead, just not making noise about it. While others waste time plotting petty games, she's protecting her energy and planning her exit. Not just any exit, a silent, sharp one that leaves no trace. She lets people reveal who they are, no confrontation, no begging, no explanations. She lets them believe they've got the upper hand, and just when they feel untouchable, they realize she's already out of reach. That's the twist no one expects. People often mistake her silence for weakness, but silence is her most powerful weapon. It creates space for others to show their true colors, and once she sees enough, she acts, not out of emotion, but out of clarity. And by the time they figure it out, it's too late. The damage they tried to cause has flipped right back onto them. Sigma females understand something most don't. You don't need to fight dirty to win. You just need patience, self-control, and the ability to walk away without looking back. Letting someone believe they're winning is not surrender. It's strategy. And when the truth finally hits, it hits hard. Number 2. She never lowered herself to their level. She elevated the game. When people throw shade, spread lies, or try to tear someone down, the common response is to clap back, argue, or expose them. But not the Sigma female. She does not waste time rolling in the mud with people who want drama. While others get loud and messy, she gets focused and productive. She turns disrespect into fuel and setbacks into stepping stones. People often expect her to react, to break down, or to get caught up in the mess. But instead of throwing punches, she builds. Instead of complaining, she levels up. She knows that silence followed by success is the loudest response you can give. When people push her, she does not push back. She rises so far above it that she becomes untouchable. This is not about pride, it is about self-respect. A Sigma female understands that giving toxic people attention is like feeding fire with gasoline. So she does not give them anything. No reactions, no explanations, no emotional breakdowns. She just quietly works on herself until the results speak louder than their opinions ever could. And the best part? Those who tried to break her eventually have to sit and watch her shine. That is the kind of revenge that cuts the deepest. Not because it is cruel, but because it is calm, graceful, and undeniable. She is not moved by chaos. She is motivated by progress. Every insult, every betrayal, every fake smile only reminds her to stay focused on what really matters. While others are busy throwing mud, she is laying bricks, building something solid, something they can never touch. She does not just rise above the nonsense, she rewrites the rules. That is what makes her rare, powerful, and unforgettable. She does not play dirty, she plays smart, and that is why she always wins in the end. Number 3. She used their obsession as a weapon. There is something quietly brilliant about a Sigma female. She knows when people are watching, studying, and even copying her. But instead of feeling threatened, she lets them. Because she understands one truth that most people miss: obsession makes people predictable. They watched her closely, not to learn from her, but to find her weakness, to mirror her style, or to compete with her presence. But what they did not realize was this: every move they copied was outdated the moment they noticed it. She had already moved on to the next step. Sigma females do not operate on trends or validation. They create their own rhythm. So when others try to imitate them, they are always chasing a version of her that no longer exists. She becomes impossible to pin down because she is constantly evolving, and that's the trap. While her enemies thought they were getting closer to understanding her, they were actually falling into a loop of second-hand thinking. They spent so much time trying to be her, they forgot how to be themselves. Meanwhile, she used that same attention as fuel, not for ego, but for direction. She studied their obsession the way they tried to study her. She watched how far they would go, how desperate they would get, and used it as a map of where not to step. While they were focused on her every move, she was designing her next chapter in silence. Her weapon was not aggression, it was evolution. By letting them think they were figuring her out, she kept them busy in the wrong race. And when the time came to make her real move, they were left in the dust, clinging to a version of her that no longer mattered. That is how a Sigma female wins, not by fighting harder, but by staying too far ahead for anyone to catch. Number 4. She saw the game before it started. Sigma females don't react to what's happening. They've already anticipated it. While most people are busy dealing with what's right in front of them, she's reading patterns, calculating behavior, and planning outcomes before anyone even knows a game has begun. She does not play checkers, where it's all about fast moves and shallow wins. She plays chess, where every step has weight, purpose, and long-term impact. People think they've surprised her when they lie, manipulate, or switch sides, but she already saw it coming. Not because she's paranoid, but because she pays attention. She listens to tone, catches the slip-ups, and notices how actions never match words. By the time they make their move, she's already seen the entire board. The truth is, Sigma females don't just think differently, they see differently. They spot intentions, not just words. They sense pressure building before anything explodes, and most importantly, they never move based on impulse. Every shift they make is intentional. So what others see as a last-minute reaction is usually a decision that was made 10 steps ago. That's why people who try to play her almost always lose. Not because she's loud or aggressive, but because she's prepared. The game they thought they were controlling, she let it happen, step by step, knowing exactly when to flip the script. She's not here to win petty battles. She's after checkmate. And by the time they realize it wasn't just a random move, it was a setup all along, she's already moved on to the next strategy. Quiet, precise, and untouchable. That's the kind of mental strength that cannot be taught. It's earned through experience, reflection, and the courage to stay calm while others play loud. Sigma females don't just survive the game, they master it. Number 5. She walked alone, but never aimlessly. People often assume that when a woman walks alone, she must be lost, lonely, or unsure of herself. But Sigma females prove that walking alone can be the boldest, most intentional choice of all. While others crowd together, trading gossip and feeding each other's fears, she moves quietly, with focus, and a plan only she understands. She is not interested in clicks, approval, or performing for attention. She does not need people around her to feel validated. That kind of independence confuses people. It makes them uncomfortable, because deep down they rely on each other to feel strong. But she doesn't. Her strength comes from within. While they huddle together in circles of insecurity, she walks a straight line toward her goals. Every step she takes is backed by thought, vision, and purpose. She is not wandering, She is working, watching, learning, and building something far beyond what they can see and what really scares them. She does not flinch. She does not ask for help. She does not explain where she is going or why. They do not understand how she is doing so much, saying so little, and still making more progress than the entire group combined. Her silence isn't weakness. It is protection. Her solitude isn't punishment. It is power. She's not afraid to be alone because that is where she gains clarity, where she recharges, and where she becomes unstoppable. The truth is, she was never part of their game. She was building something else, something real. And by the time they realize what she was doing all along, she is already too far ahead to catch. That's the Sigma female's way. She may walk alone, but every step has direction. And that scares those who need a crowd just to feel seen. Number 6. She outsmarted their ego with emotional discipline. Most people expect a reaction when they mess with someone. They count on drama, on emotional outbursts, or at the very least a desperate need for closure. But the Sigma female gives them nothing. No tears, no begging, no explanation, just silence. And that silence hits harder than any words ever could. She understands something most people don't. Emotional control is power. Not everyone deserves a response. Not every situation needs closure, and sometimes walking away without saying a word is the loudest message of all. That's what made them panic. They expected her to fall apart. They expected her to chase answers, to prove herself, to show them that they still had power over her. But she didn't flinch. She didn't give them the satisfaction. She stayed calm, and in that calm she completely flipped the script. Ego-driven people need attention. They need to feel important. And when the Sigma female refused to give them that, it left them confused and off balance. How could she stay composed when they thought they had her cornered? How could she not react when they pulled every trick to get under her skin? The answer is simple. She has nothing to prove. She values her peace more than she values being understood. She knows her worth, and she does not need anyone to validate it. That kind of emotional discipline is rare, and it scares people, because when someone cannot be shaken, they cannot be controlled. She did not just win the battle, she made it clear there was never one to begin with. They tried to play games with her, but she was playing a different game entirely, one that required patience, clarity, and self-control. And in the end, while they were busy feeding their egos, she walked away with her dignity, her peace, and her power fully intact. Number 7. She knew the endgame wasn't applause, it was peace. While everyone else was caught up trying to win arguments, prove points, or get the last word, the Sigma female was playing a different game altogether. They thought she wanted to be right. They thought she wanted to be seen, praised, or even feared, but she was never chasing applause. She was chasing peace. The kind of peace that doesn't depend on who agrees with her or who supports her. The kind that comes from knowing she stayed true to herself, even when everyone else was trying to pull her into chaos. And that's what made her so untouchable. People came at her with drama, lies, and emotional games, trying to throw her off, trying to drag her into the mess. But she didn't give them what they were hoping for. No big emotional meltdown, no fight, no public show of pain. Instead, she chose silence. She chose distance. She chose to heal privately while everyone else was still trying to perform for attention. Because for her, peace was the real win. Not clapping hands, not validation, and definitely not dragging people into a shouting match just to prove she was right. She saw right through that. She saw how loud people get when they are insecure, and she refused to let herself become part of that noise. So when people realized she wasn't reacting anymore, that she wasn't showing up to defend herself or to explain anything, that's when they started to panic. Because once she found peace, they lost their power. She outgrew their games, and they knew it. She taught everyone watching something important. Peace is the real end game. Not recognition, not revenge, not attention, just peace. And when she reached it, everything else, including the people who tried to break her, stopped mattering. She moved on without the need to prove anything, and that's what made her unforgettable. Number 8. She let them exhaust themselves in games she never joined. They threw everything at her: manipulation, passive aggression, fake kindness, silent treatments, and subtle digs. They wanted a reaction. They wanted to pull her into their little game where drama gives people a sense of control. But the Sigma female never picked up the controller. She saw the game for what it was, and she chose not to play. That's the part they didn't expect. They thought ignoring her would break her. They thought provoking her would trigger a response, but instead of reacting, she stayed still, observing, letting their own behavior expose them. She understood something most people never learn. Not every battle is worth fighting, and some situations are best won by staying quiet. While they burned energy trying to get under her skin, she was saving hers. She didn't waste time trying to correct their lies or match their emotional games. She simply moved differently, with purpose, with clarity. And while they were busy plotting how to confuse her, she was building herself, protecting her peace, choosing logic over emotion. By the time they realized she wasn't even participating, they were already worn out, mentally, emotionally, and sometimes even physically. The Sigma female's power isn't just in what she does. It is in what she refuses to give her energy to. She does not compete where there is no value. She does not engage where there is no growth. So while they exhausted themselves running in circles, she stayed focused, grounded, and calm. And nothing is more terrifying to manipulators than someone who sees straight through the nonsense and does not flinch. She didn't win by overpowering them. She won by never letting them affect her in the first place. And in the end, they were left confused, drained, and powerless, all while she stayed completely unbothered. Number 9. She never avenged, she evolved. They thought they broke her. They thought the silence meant defeat, that her absence meant she gave up. But what they didn't see was that she wasn't nursing wounds or plotting revenge. She was evolving quietly, sharpening her mind, rebuilding her strength, and outgrowing everything they once used to hurt her. The Sigma female does not waste time on revenge. She does not chase payback or try to make people feel what they made her feel. That's not her lane. She's too focused on becoming better, not bitter. So while they sat around waiting for her to snap, she was already on the move, reinventing herself, learning from every bruise, studying every betrayal not with anger but with clarity. She knew that true power is not found in proving others wrong. It's found in becoming someone they can no longer reach. What they mistook for submission was really transformation. She didn't yell, she didn't fight. She disappeared into her own world, and when she returned, she was different, stronger, wiser, quieter, and more dangerous in the best way. They used to know how to push her buttons. Now she has none. They used to count on her care, her emotions, her need to fix or explain, but all of that is gone. She outgrew it. She outgrew them. And by the time they realized they could no longer find the same woman they once underestimated, it was already too late. The version of her that would have tolerated them, responded to them, or even explained herself to them, no longer exists. She never came back for revenge. She didn't need to. Her growth was the revenge. Her evolution was the closure. Because when a Sigma female rises from pain, she doesn't return for applause. She returns with purpose. And this time, nobody can touch her. Number 10. She didn't expose them. She let their patterns speak. The Sigma female does not waste time pointing fingers or making noise. She doesn't run around trying to prove who did what or convince others to see the truth. She doesn't need to, because she understands something most people miss. If someone is fake, manipulative, or toxic, their own behavior will eventually reveal it. So instead of shouting or playing victim, she stays quiet. She watches. She takes mental notes. And she lets time do the talking. They thought they were getting away with it. The lies, the gaslighting, the manipulation behind closed doors. They thought their charm would protect them, that their mask would stay in place. But the Sigma female never chased the truth. She just waited for it to show itself. And it always does, because patterns never lie. People can only pretend for so long before who they really are starts leaking through the cracks. And when that moment comes, she does not say, "I told you so." She just nods, walks away, and lets others figure out what she already knew. That kind of patience is power. It takes real strength to sit in silence while someone tries to twist the story, knowing you don't have to lift a finger for the truth to rise. While they tried to control how people saw her, she stayed focused on who she actually is. And eventually, the mask they wore slipped, not because she forced it off, but because they couldn't keep it on. That is what makes the Sigma female dangerous in the best way. She doesn't destroy reputations. She just refuses to protect false ones. She lets people reveal themselves, and when they do, she's already gone. She doesn't expose them. She lets their behavior do it for her, loud and clear. Number 11. She let them exhaust themselves in games she never joined. They threw everything at her: manipulation, passive aggression, fake kindness, silent treatments, and subtle digs. They wanted a reaction. They wanted to pull her into their little game, where drama gives people a sense of control. But the Sigma female never picked up the controller. She saw the game for what it was, and she chose not to play. That's the part they didn't expect. They thought ignoring her would break her. They thought provoking her would trigger a response. But instead of reacting, she stayed still, observing, letting their own behavior expose them. She understood something most people never learn. Not every battle is worth fighting, and some situations are best won by staying quiet. While they burned energy trying to get under her skin, she was saving hers. She didn't waste time trying to correct their lies or match their emotional games. She simply moved differently, with purpose, with clarity. And while they were busy plotting how to confuse her, she was building herself, protecting her peace, choosing logic over emotion. By the time they realized she wasn't even participating, they were already worn out, mentally, emotionally, and sometimes even physically. The Sigma female's power isn't just in what she does. It is in what she refuses to give her energy to. She does not compete where there is no value. She does not engage where there is no growth. So while they exhausted themselves running in circles, she stayed focused, grounded, and calm. And nothing is more terrifying to manipulators than someone who sees straight through the nonsense and does not flinch. She didn't win by overpowering them. She won by never letting them affect her in the first place. And in the end, they were left confused, drained, and powerless, all while she stayed completely unbothered. In final words, power is not always loud. Sometimes it moves in silence and wins without a single warning. The truth is, when people play dirty, it is because they lack direction. They rely on tricks, lies, and manipulation to feel in control. But Sigma females, they move differently. They do not match chaos with more chaos. They do not get pulled into mess just to prove a point. They focus on their growth, protect their peace, and let life speak for them. What made them unstoppable was not loud revenge or dramatic exits. It was the quiet way they walked away, the calm way they outgrew what once tried to break them, and the smart way they turned pressure into progress. That is the move no one saw coming, and it hit the hardest. To every Sigma female listening right now, never forget who you are. You are not cold, you are clear. You are not detached, you are disciplined. You do not have to match low behavior to show you are strong. You already are. You were never meant to fight for a seat at anyone's table. You were meant to build your own. And those who once tried to break you, they will have to watch you from a distance. Not because you shut them out with hate, but because you moved so far ahead they can no longer reach you. Let them play dirty. Let them chase attention. You just keep building, keep growing, keep evolving. Because when a Sigma female plays the long game, she always wins. Quietly, smartly, and in a way that no one saw coming, but everyone will remember.